After you guys seem to enjoy my Gran Turismo 7 player plays iRacing video, then I decided to do it again. This time it's week 3.
Oh shit, here we go again.
And this week we are on Assetto Corsa Competizione. This is a game I'm reasonably familiar with and I've played it on PS5. This week in the time trial competition it is going to be on the PC version of Assetto Corsa Competizione. And guys, before we begin, it's important to note it really kicked off in the comments last time on my iRacing video. Feel free to make any comment you want to make about me, but please be kind and courteous and respectful to other people, other viewers in the comments, guys. Please keep it respectful. So I won't be necessarily covering the full review of Assetto Corsa Competizione. I will be specifically focused on the time trial at the event and car specific combination that is for the VBOX SIM Motorsport Challenge this week. We're going to head over to single player. And it's going to be hot lap mode because it's just a single one lap that we need to do. It's at Donington Park, which is a fantastic track in the UK. It's just round the corner from me, so I've been there many times before, and it's great to be able to drive this track in a racing sim. It's not available in Gran Turismo, so that's a bit of an unfortunate, but to play in Assetto Corsa Competizione is fantastic. And the car we will be using for this one it's the BMW M2 CS racing car. Now, the downside for me is that I'm familiar with Assetto Corsa, but specifically in the GT3 cars, I've never ever driven this BMW M2 CS car before. Setup wise in Assetto Corsa Competizione, you've got quite a few of the setup options, but specifically on this BMW M2, you don't have so many as you would do in the normal GT3 cars. Now, I also think that Assetto Corsa Competizione is very much specific and optimal for the GT3 cars. The other cars like the GT2s and the GT4s, I just don't think it's quite there yet, so it's a little disappointing to be able to drive this non-GT3 car in Assetto Corsa Competizione. We're going to load a setup and we're going to see how we get on. Now, ACC has a full range of tyre temperatures and tyre pressures that you can play with, and there's an optimum tyre pressure and tyre temperature that you need to have during the laps that you race. In hot lap mode specifically, each time you cross the line your tyre temperature resets to be somewhere near the optimum, so it's not too critical for this one, but in the longer races when you're doing a full race, then it certainly is very important. On electronics we have TC and ABS all available to adjust, ECU map and telemetry laps. I don't know actually what that does, but because I'm using the Moser KS wheel on the PC specifically, I'm able to map ABS and TC to a rotary dial on this, which allows me to change it on the fly to dial it in while I'm driving. For fuel and strategy, because it's the hot lap mode, there's no fuel in the car, and specifically for ACC is you can choose different sets of tyres to use throughout. So with regard to simulation, if you wear one set of tyres out, you could use that set of tyres again, or you could put a fresh set of tyres on. You can also go into as much detail as putting different front brakes on the car. Some of the brakes are more suited to shorter stints, whereas some of I think the higher numbers are more suited to longer stints. So if you've got an hour-long stint or a 3-hour race, for example, that plays an important factor. It's got some really detailed information in ACC, which I think is really good for a heavy simulation. On the mechanical grip tab we have the anti-roll bars, brake power, brake bias, steer ratio, front and rear wheel rate, bump stop range and bump stop rate. All of this stuff can be adjusted, and then you also have the anti-roll bar and the differential preload. Now, it's not a multi-adjustable LSD in this car here, it's just a locking factor. For dampers we have the full 4-stage dampers, so we've got bump fast, rebound and fast rebound. That is to do with the way the dampers expand and compress, and it's in fast motion and slow motion as well, so that's all free for us to change. And we have some aerodynamic things to try as well. So we've got the body height, front and rear, and I think it also happens in GT7 when you have rake in the car, so when the nose is lower than the front, that can help to generate more frontal downforce. Rear wing and brake ducts. Brake ducts is essentially the cooling that allows to go into the brakes. Brake temperatures are also modelled in ACC, so it's important to get them right. In the hot lap mode we're about to be doing, it's less important because it resets every single lap. Now for this VBOX SIM motorsport event, I have the VBOX SIM running all the time. It will be logging all of the telemetry of every single lap that I've done throughout the course of this week-long time trial, and it allows me to analyse my data. I'll get to that a little bit later in this video. If you want to know more about VBOX Motorsports or Race Logic, then check out the links in the description below. There'll be links over to there so you can go and check it out for yourself. As we begin, now right in front of me, just kind of here-ish, is the Race Logic VBOX. Now you may have seen these in many cars in sim racing and in real life motorsport. This is exactly what Race Logic do, and Race Logic allow the virtual version of this for all the data, the exact same data that is used through real life motorsport is captured through sim racing as well. Now this M2 I think it's best with no traction control. As you're going to see, we're going to cross the line. It's going to reset the tyre temperature to be perfect tyre temperatures. Ahead is my best lap, and let's run some laps and see what we're going to do here. So into turn one, you can feel the car want to slide. Oh, big amount of opposite lock there, and that's a lap invalidated. So I've got to get myself dialed in again to ACC, and specifically this BMW just didn't feel like any of the GT3 cars I've driven in ACC before, so that's a kind of an advantage that it feels different, but I just felt more comfortable with the GT3 cars. Now we do have ABS available to us, and that is on the car. That helps a lot. So coming from iRacing last week, where we had no ABS at all, we can just jam onto the brakes. Although the brakes feel a bit weird in this car, it's kind of difficult to really gauge where you need to be for brakes. Now you can see there's a plane coming into land. I've got to say, generally the graphics, I've got to speak about the graphics, they do look a lot better in ACC than on iRacing, but I've got to say the way I set my iRacing up was really to maximise frame rate rather than to get graphical fidelity, because that's what I needed to do. I'll say the force feedback on ACC is pretty good. On the brakes, I'm way off where I need to be. I've already set my good lap. I'm just revisiting just to go and bring this video to you guys. I'll share the results at the end of this video. So let's try and get a good lap now. Into turn one, we're going to brake just after the point, down to third gear, let the car float into the corner, just bring the throttle in. Catch that nicely on corner exit, flat out down through the crane of curves here, and we can just keep it absolutely flat, just bouncing those curves, brake, fourth gear, trying to float the car in, just missing that apex, and we are wide. That is a track limits penalty again. Track limits is very difficult to stay in here because the car just wants to float all the time. Third gear through here, missing the apex, trying to drive on corner exit. Feels good to catch the slides on corner exit. Fourth gear through here, I think we can carry. There we go, we can. Oh, a bit of a slide there, catching it. Oh, that was nice, very nice. I've got to say, driving the car and catching the slides feels pretty good in ACC. At the board, float through here, try and carry the speed, bouncing those curves. Now I did change the car setup on this to be a lot more forgiving on the curves, but I never really felt connected to this BMW M2 deep on the brakes here, and it's exactly the problem I'd had all through the week with this car, was I just never felt connected to the car, especially at the lower speeds, just rolling off the brakes. In these final two corners, I just could never trail brake into the apex that nicely. Big amount of oversteer on corner exit there. Let's run another lap, see where we can get to. Now the good thing with the Ghost in this game is that the Ghost goes red when that brakes, which is a really good indication when you brake, orange when you're kind of like coasting, and green when you're on the gas, which is a really good way to kind of follow that Ghost and really maximise what you need to be doing as you're going through here. So here we go. Fifth gear, not too bad through here, brakes, fourth gear, float the car in. Oh, a bit of a snap on exit, managed to catch that one. I feel like we're getting some pace back in the car now, guys. Fifth gear through here. I probably didn't need to take 5th gear there. I can't remember what my best lap was. We can find out in a minute. There we go, corner exit's not too bad here. Just going to stay in 4th, float the car through here, just tease the throttle. Oh, that's a big slide, we've caught that one, that's looking good. We are just hanging on to our best lap pretty good now, so throwing it through the chicane and 2 more hairpins to go. Nice little clip there, that's good, big slide on corner exit, we've caught that one. Braking at the board for the final hairpin. Not too bad on. Not a bad exit, not a bad exit at all. 1 more corner to go. Braking at the... That was a bit too much on the brakes, really slowed the car down too much. Firing it across the line. What's his lap time going to be? It's going to be 140.7. Now it's 0.7 off my best, but considering I'm straight back into it fresh, pretty happy with that one. So looking at my best lap using circuit tools by Race Logic, which allows you to analyze the VBOX SIM output, we can play the lap through and we can see where we were faster or slower than the lap we've just done. So into turn 1 it was a very similar line. We carried 3rd gear through there, and looking at the track map you can see it plots the exact sweep and arc through the corners. Down through Kramer curves, it seems that we've a similar line through there. I did go up to 5th gear at this point through here, 4th gear through here, and floating it in. I got a much better rotation through there and carried a lot more speed through there. And looking up to this one here, did I change into 5th gear? And it doesn't look like I did, so we changed up to 5th gear in our previous lap, which we shouldn't have done. 3rd gear through there, and I can't remember, do I take 4th gear through this corner? I actually downshifted to 3rd gear, so that's another difference that I just did in my previous lap. And again, it looks like we've got a good exit, 4th gear, 5th gear through this section. And looking at the braking reference point, it is just that board there. Bouncing it through this curve here, took a lot more of a straight line through that curb chicane section there, and the braking into the final last but 1 hairpin, much better to the apex, was really quite solid and a good corner exit, and I really suffered on the final corner in the lap that I just did. We're going to compare the 2 lap times in a second. And the 2 data traces now, a much better apex, a good corner exit, and across the line. That's going to be the 1 minute 40.0 lap time. So it seems through turn 1 we did a pretty good job of that, and through the Kramer curves we are pretty good. It was the braking in now to this up at the old hairpin. I carried a lot less speed through old hairpin, and you can see we started to brake a little bit earlier and just carried a lot less speed, and then we just lost some time, and then the time remained similar. And then the other big loss of time was into the other kind of significant kink, and you can see here specifically I changed up to 5th gear, which we saw on the side-by-side laps, up to 5th gear, which I probably shouldn't have done. And my minimum apex speed was far lower on the lap that I've just done, so that's where we lost a bunch of time here, as you can see. Aside from that, I started to gain it back a little bit, a better apex speed on the exits of that double right-hander, and then down the back straight I did carry a bit better speed, so I started to close that gap in on the lap time. Zooming out a bit now, and towards the end of the lap, as you can see, my apex speed on the final corner was not very good on the lap that I've just done, and that cost us a chunk of time, and we bled it all the way to the finish line. So 0.637 off my best lap that I will submit for this event. But just to give you a rundown of how the game feels for hot lapping. So guys, the results are in, and we ended up 5th place for that week 3, which is a little disappointing, I've got to say. Coming off the back of the 2nd place from the iRacing round, I would have expected better. I think iRacing is probably something where I wouldn't feel particularly strong with it being such a heavy, hard simulation. And having experience in ACC before, I felt reasonably confident coming into this round, but with the choice of car being the BMW M2, I just never felt connected to the car, and I've got to say, it just yeah, I just never felt connected to the car. I love ACC, and ACC in the GT3 cars feels fantastic, but in the BMW, it just didn't really work out for me. Now, if you are interested in ACC, I'd highly recommend going to check it out, whether you're on PC or PlayStation or even Xbox. ACC is a really hardcore simulation that is available across multiple platforms, and consoles can play cross-compatibility together. It doesn't have a particularly good story mode or anything like that, but if you're into a more simulation side of things, then you should be pretty sorted. And the overall results are in as well, guys, and I did actually finish 5th overall for the 4 weekly time trial competition. I sat out week 4. It was best 3 weeks from 4 to count. Week 4 was in F1 2024, and I just didn't quite fancy trying that. I haven't got it. I wasn't going to spend 70 quid on that. Let me know in the comments, guys, if you are interested in hearing my thoughts on F1 2024, because I may consider getting it. But for now, it looks like it's a really tight battle at the top between Nathan and Shanaka Clay. Both those guys are super fast, 2 points separate them. And then we've got a block of maybe 7 drivers, which are all on a very similar point score throughout the event. So that should be really interesting. But the important thing, guys, I did qualify in the top 15, which does send me to the live event hosted at Simply Race in Milton Keynes. So VBOX Motorsports have put together this fantastic time trial competition event, and we're going to the live final, guys. VBOX Motorsport are hosting this event. We're going to the live final. If you do want to see how my iRacing week went on, if you've not seen it yet, then make sure you go and click on the link on screen right now. If not, guys, make sure you subscribe to see how the live event goes, and we'll catch you in the next one.